Aristotle once said, "The worst form of inequality is to try to make unequal things equal." Though this sounds contradictory, but what Aristotle hinted at was something very deep. Equality is not about treating everyone identically. It's more about recognizing that some people start the race miles behind, and unless we give them a lift, they will never reach the starting line. That's where affirmative action, or as we know in India, reservation, helps. Imagine being born into a society where your touch pollutes, or your voice is silenced, or you are compelled to live in an isolated forest for centuries. So, declaring freedom does not erase centuries of oppression. And, as B.R. Ambedkar also stated, political democracy without social and economic equality is just a facade. Hence, reservations were introduced not as charity but as a corrective mechanism to ensure those historically oppressed are not just equal on paper but given a fair shot in real life. Now, let's break down the structure of India's reservation system. First, 15% of seats in government jobs and education are reserved for SCs. Next, 7.5% of reservation is given to STs and 27% is reserved for other backward classes. Recently, 10% of reservation is guaranteed for economically weaker sections. Last but not the least, 33% reservation in panchayats and municipalities are reserved for women. And the 2023 Women's Reservation Bill also ensures the same in Lok Sabha and the state assemblies. The Supreme Court recently, in 1992, in the Indira Sahni case, set a cap at 50% reservations. But with the EWS quota, the actual total today is around 59.5%. So, reservations are not about pampering one group. They are about bringing invisible Indians into the national narrative. If we talk about history, reservation journey began in 1950 when the Constitution officially recognized the SCs and STs for reservation. But the term backward classes was vague. This led to protests in South India, especially by the Dravida movement led by the Dravida Kazhagam. These protests forced the government to act. The result? The first constitutional amendment added Article 15(4), allowing the state to provide for socially and educationally backward groups. Then came the Kalekar Commission in 1953. It identified over 2,000 backward castes, but the report was rejected as too subjective. Then came the Mandal Commission in 1979, which was led by B.P. Mandal. It used 11 criteria ranging from caste, literacy to even housing conditions, and it was able to identify 3,743 OBC castes, accounting for 52% of the population. But when its recommendations were implemented in 1990, the country erupted. Protests, self-immolations, and violent clashes filled the streets. Yet, despite the chaos, justice prevailed, and by 1993, Mandal was law. Now let's talk about empowering women and the poor. So, for centuries, women had no place in power, but the 72nd and 73rd Constitutional Amendment changed that. They guaranteed 1/3 reservation for women in village councils and municipal bodies. This created a silent revolution because for the first time, women were mayors, sarpanch, and councillors, and not just mothers, wives, or daughter-in-laws. And many policies followed up. ICDS improved child nutrition, and piped water, LPG cylinders, and electricity reduced the domestic burden. Meanwhile, in 2019, the EWS quota was born. If your annual family income is below 8 lakh and you don't fall under SC, ST or OBC, you qualify. For the first time, poverty, not caste, became a criteria for affirmative action. Now the question is, has it really worked? Yes. Reservation policies have significantly improved the representation of marginalized communities in government employment. Like, as of 2023, the central public sector enterprises employed approximately 8.41 lakh individuals, with 17.17% from SCs, 9.86 from STs, and 23.77% from OBCs. It also increased female participation in the workforce. In 2024, women submitted 2.8 crore job application out of a total of 7 crore, marking a 20% increase from the previous year. Reservation policies also serve as a tool to rectify historical injustice and systematic discrimination faced by marginalized communities, fostering a more equitable and fair society. But it's also attached to some negative impacts too. First, inequality within the reservation system. So the reservation system often fails to target the genuinely disadvantaged. While SC and ST are intended to benefit, the creamy layer with higher income often claim benefits they do not need. Second, social unrest and protests. Protests for reservation have led to significant unrest and violence in India. A recent example is the Gurjar agitation in Rajasthan, where protests turned violent, resulting in property damage and even loss of lives. Third, lack of review and transparency. Despite being in place for over 60 years, there has been no comprehensive review or audit of the reservation system to assess the actual impact. The system has not evolved to address the changing needs of Indian society. In 2023, the Supreme Court of India also took up the issue of reservation in promotions for SC and ST in government jobs, that sparked a debate over its constitutional validity and the need for periodic review. Fourth, brain drain and economic impact. The 2019 economic survey highlighted that a significant portion of Indian talent chooses to migrate for higher paying jobs and better opportunities, with some attribute to the lack of merit based opportunities within the domestic system. So, now the final question arises. Does affirmative action actually work? So the answer is yes. Literacy among STs rose from 29.6% in 1991 to 59.1% by 2011. That's called progress. But we must fine tune. Make it dynamic, data driven, and targeted. We should ensure that it reaches the poorest, not just the politically vocal. After all, true equality is not merely the allocation of opportunities, but the removal of barriers that prevent the deserving from rising. So, let's not abandon affirmative action, let's reform it. Let's understand that treating everyone the same in an unequal world only preserves an injustice. Because, in the end, the worst form of inequality is pretending inequality does not exist. Thank you.